What's going on, guys? Today's The Path Natural, episode number 9. This is Monday, January 25th. Thanks for coming out. Before we start out today, I got a jam-packed episode. I just want to throw a thanks out to Mike247 for sending in a request via email. I wish you guys would put them up in the comments section, but email still worked just fine as well. I wanted me to cover chick starting. So that actually worked out because I already had everything set up. I was going to do it, so took it apart for it. I'd let you guys watch me set it up step by step. Maybe pick up a couple of tips in there that a lot of people don't actually do. And I'll tell you guys, you can start out with a big fancy broiler, but chances are a cardboard box is simply all you're going to need. So put your cardboard box together, seal up the bottom. You don't want it airtight, but just close it up so it's not it doesn't pop up or anything like that and have chickens running out underneath. And then I also like to put an extra piece of cardboard underneath it just because you're going to get a lot of discharge coming out of it. There'll be water, the chicken droppings, and I don't even know, but it ends up being a soaking wet, mushy mess. So the stronger you keep the bottom of that box when you want to drag it out and put it in your garden or whatever, the better you're going to be. With that, since you probably want to use this on your garden, make sure you're using a plain cardboard. You'll want to rip the tape off either before or after. It's really just preference. I ripped it off the bottom there, so I don't need to worry about it. I just have a couple pieces to rip off the top. But that way you can just lay it flat down in your garden for your sheep mulching here in the spring. I like to get my chickens a little bit earlier just because of the elevation we live at and the heat we get in the summer. In Colorado, it's a high elevation, so it's real tough for your meat birds. And that in combination with the high heat in the summer will end up killing them very quickly. So I get them in January, February range, so that it's still cool enough and early enough in the year that they're not struggling with the heat along with the altitude. However, this is my first year doing the corner cross, so we'll see what happens with that. Hoping for the best, but we'll see what happens. Guys, you see I've got a bare bottom box here. Got some 2x4 cutoffs on the side. Got a screen. Got some newspapers. This right here is a bag of mulch bedding. It's actually paper shreddings, but you can use whatever you want. Pine shavings are just fine. You can get them real cheap at the store, or you can also just use hay or straw. I didn't really have the time to get the hay or straw, so this is what I'm going to use. Alright, now just to make sure that I have a little bit of extra protection on the bottom of this box, because trust me, the water will just pour out of this thing. I'm going to lay some newspapers down around the seams, just to mitigate that a little bit. It's going to happen regardless whether I like it or not, but I'm going to spread these newspapers out just to do my fair part there to mitigate it. Alright, now go ahead and throw the bedding in. Like I said, I got a bag of paper shreddings here because I don't want my identity stolen, but recently I've just been shredding everything, even junk mail, as long as it doesn't have the glossy texture on the outside. And that way I'll just pour that in and it'll function as a bedding just like anything else. I'm going to spread this pretty evenly across the entire bottom, but I'll thin it out a little bit on one side. We'll get to that here in a minute. Now, in my experience, about a ½ inch of bedding is all you need. You can go up to about a 3/4 inch, 1 inch. Don't get much deeper than that though. Start getting too deep and your chickens will start tripping around it and they won't be able to get around very well. Also, they're going to pack it down. So unless you want to change out your box once every couple days, you're just going to want to put a little bit in and then you can stack a little bit more on top of it. The important thing is that you're having enough carbonation material in your box, and this goes for your barn or anything as well. But enough carbonation material in the bottom of your box there to soak up all the pee and the poop and more or less the nitrogen, because that's what causes the odor. So keep a nice, dry, fluffy bed of your bedding in there, mulch, whatever you're using. That way it'll soak up their excrement and doesn't create a terrible smell, and it keeps it relatively dry. Now, what you're going to do on that side where you kept it a little bit thinner, you're going to use a screen. You can also use hardware mesh, any type of real small wiring that the chickens can still walk over and not fall through. You're going to set that up on top of some blocks of wood. I'm using some cutoffs I had laying around. Certainly not optimal just because of the fact that it's treated lumber. It's going to have some chemicals in it. However, I'm just taking the gamble and saying there's not going to be enough to be of significant concern from the water runoff. And I'm going to use those anyway, just because I don't have any rough cut laying around. I could use some sticks, but I think this is just going to work a little bit better, and there's just not the great concern with it. What I'm going to use this for, however, though, is to set the water on top of, because they will flip that water container over more times than you can count. So you have to go out and check on numerous times a day. But set it on top of that, and that way you're not getting their bedding wet right where they're laying around. It'll drain through that and keep the top relatively dry. And then over on the other side, where they do sleep and it's a little fluffier, that's where I'll have a heat lamp, and they can then sleep over on the dry side. It's important to note, though, you don't want the heat lamp beaten down in your water. It's going to encourage the growth of bacteria a little bit faster. Alright guys, now you can see we have the screen installed here. We have our wood blocks there to hold it up about 2 inches up off the base, and we have all the extra bedding over here as well. I did tape the sides of the box up because I want it to be a little bit higher just in case they start to jump. Now it's time to put up the heat lamp. We're going to put in the feeder and a waterer. You see I got my waterer here. Make sure you flip that over before you put it in your chicken pen, because you don't want to get any extra water in here. Don't need to worry about filling up the whole way either. I'd say probably a quart a day would be more than enough. They're going to spill a ton, they're going to drink a ton, but the fact of the matter is they're still baby chickens, and you can still fit 2 or 3 of them on a dollar bill. So they don't have that much room to consume that much water. And you're going to need to change it out every day regardless, simply because of the fact that you have that heat lamp in there. Well, you don't want to shine directly on it to mitigate the bacteria growth. It's still extra hot, and it's going to get extra gross extra quick. So also, if you're getting some chics quick start mix, electrolyte mix in their water, it doesn't actually go in their water a lot of times. A lot of times it's gelatin mix that they're supposed to eat. But if you do get something for the water, you can hold off on that until you actually get them. But make sure you have your water and make sure it's actually holding water. Worst thing you can do is wait till they get there and come to find out that crap, I got a hole in it. Another thing you can do though is maybe use an old butter container or something relatively shallow, but is a plastic container and has a thin edge. You don't want a dog dish because the sloped edge is going to keep them away from it. They're going to be crawling all over it. So the smallest container you can get that holds water, put some shale in it. If you have an aquaponics system, use the grow medium, something like that, so, because they will drown in it. Chickens are stupid, especially baby ones. They just haven't learned anything yet. To an already stupid bird, that's a real dangerous situation. So put some shale or something in there so they can still drink the water, but if they fall in, they'll just roll right over and get out. You don't need to worry about them dying and drowning. So I'm going to go ahead and set this in there. Got my water opening right here, so set it down that way, and of course I still got water pouring out. That's why I don't do it in my chicken pen. And I just put that in the back corner there so I can take up the least amount of space with it. It'll fill up just fine. I do have a larger feeder, but it's not what I'm going to use. Alright guys, here's what I'm going to use for a feeder. That dog dish I was telling you not to use it for your feed. Thing is, it's still pretty steady when you set it down, so it won't flip over, and those slanted edges are going to provide a good feed area in the middle there. If you have one that has a real deep center in it, or more or less a real shallow bowl, probably isn't the best. But this one has a pretty good trough around the side, and the center's not too shallow. So it'll fill up the feed alright. I don't need to worry about flipping it over. It doesn't take up nearly as much space as a normal feeder, and is resistant to being flipped over. If they do crap on it, it's easy plastic to just dump out and wash out. So I don't need to worry about scrubbing any texture plastic off or anything like that. It'll just come right out. I'll set that in here. Don't want to get too close to your water because they're going to splash water around. So just try and avoid the closeness as much as possible. Go ahead and throw a little feed in that. Alright, now we're almost ready to go. We got feed, we got water, we got bedding. Now we need some heat. Baby chickens do require a fair amount of heat. You usually want to keep it about 80 degrees in the box. I've heard some numbers on either side of that, but that just seems to be my rule of thumb. Start getting up into 90, it's alright. Start getting above 90 though, and tend to see chickens away from the side panting. So 80 degrees has just been what's worked for me. That's not to say it's going to be the exact same for you. The true test though, when you have your heat lamp in here, lower it down. If they are all held under, it needs to go lower because they're still too cold. If they're all spread out to as far away from it as they can, it's too hot in there, and you're going to have dead chickens real soon. So that's when you need to pull it up a little bit. It's kind of just a game of dropping it and picking it up and seeing where the sweet spot is as far as keeping them warm enough. You don't want to keep them in a drafty area, hence the box. Some people have a big problem with rats. I don't. I never have actually. Pennsylvania, Colorado, a rat problem never existed for me. But people that do have rat problems, they want to secure their chickens in a metal container that is going to at least mitigate the rat. I mean, I don't know of anything you keep a rat out of. It'll chew through 1/8 inch thick steel. It'll definitely chew through your steel wire if it wants to. I've heard of people having all their chickens killed and or eaten by their baby peeps there by rats. So make sure you do everything you can to mitigate that if it's a problem for you. Yet again, I just don't have that problem, so I'm not real concerned about it. If I do, I'm going to be pretty upset, but I'm going to put in a dog carrier then. We'll see how this all turns out though. This is my second flock of chickens in Colorado, so should be good. Now you see I repositioned my box a little bit, just so I could take advantage of the rafters in the ceiling here. I threw an extension cord over it, and then I plug in my light to that extension cord. So that way, if I need to raise or lower my light, I can do so just by using the clip on the side there to go up and down the extension cord. Right now I was just able to put it on a piece of wood frame I had behind it there. Built something else, so I was able to use that. But if it needs to go lower, I'll just use the extension cord and it'll dangle a little bit lower down into the box. And there we go, that's all we've got. That's all we need to set up for our baby chickens. Now we just need the chickens to add. So now you can see, right up here we've got our light, got our waterer. Let me move in a little bit closer so you can see the feeder. And there's our feeder. You can see I got the screen in the bottom. It takes up a little bit more than half the container, but they're all going to be hiding over in this side over here whenever they're cold, just because that's where I have the light. So that'll get most of their pee and poop. Then I'll just wash that screen off then whenever I'm done. Whenever they get big enough to then put out in the big chicken coop. Well folks, that's all I've got for today. Or at least this segment anyway. I'll see you back in the warm side in the house. Alright guys, in this next segment I wanted to take a little bit of time to cover some of the basics to raising baby chicks. And also if you're contemplating doing an open grazing method for your chickens, something like Geoff Lawton does, a couple things you want to take into note there. Let me start out with open grazing technique or open pasturing with the eggmobile. Be careful of birds of prey in your area. More or less all predation, but specifically birds of prey, because a livestock guardian dog you can use to mitigate the other predators. Not completely get rid of, but mitigate. Then you get too many chickens and your dogs are just going to be ineffective because honestly chickens go every single direction you can possibly think of. You know, they don't travel in packs really, so a livestock guardian dog's not going to be it'll be the best way for you as far as I can think when you're talking about an animal to protect your chickens. However, it's still not going to be 100% fix. I mean, nor will it be 100% fix for anything, but it's not going to be nearly as effective as, say, goats, sheep, or anything else that herds like that. Or even ducks. They also herd, and geese. I wouldn't really want to put my dog in with geese because, honestly, they might gang up on it and kill it. Or might end up killing them to defend itself, but that's a different story. Regardless, the birds of prey can be a very significant threat to your birds. We had, probably had 300 chickens at one point when I was growing up as a kid there in Pennsylvania, and I think the hawks, and they were taking chickens that were bigger than them. You'd find some of their feathers a quarter mile away in a stream.
It's incredible the size of chicken that a hawk can pick up and pull over. They'd be swooping through the barn all the time. And that was at the point where we didn't really understand or hadn't even thought about the concept of tractoring them around the yard or anything like that. It was just, I was going to school, my mom was working, and feed the chickens in the afternoon, and they'll take care of themselves during the day. Turns out that didn't work out real well for us. We were able to eventually make a large enough area chicken yard for them when we were down to about 50 because hawks and owls had killed so many of them, and also the raccoons, possums, and other things. Predation took a big toll on us. I think, though, it was because we were close to a stream. That's where a lot of the animals went for water as well. Could be wrong, but that one makes a little more sense to me because I'd lived in other areas with chickens and didn't have near that problem. I lost maybe one or two to predation, mostly because I think I lived away from water, so the animals didn't naturally walk by it and smell the free dinner there, was they were going for water at night. And chickens are stupid. They're pretty useless when it comes to protecting themselves, so you really have to have someone protect them, or you have to lock them in really well, because anything looking for a meal knows chicken's a quick, easy meal. Regardless, so your birds of prey are going to come pick them off in the middle of the day. They're going to pick them off at night. They're going to pick them off all the time. As with all your other predators, they're a quick, easy meal, high in nutrition. So what I recommend doing, get a couple of old birds. If you're thinking about doing the open grazing method, let them walk around and see how many of them get picked off. Don't let them completely unprotected at night, but during the days when your biggest concern for the overhead predation is going to be. So that's when you want to just monitor how many get picked off in a month or two. I mean, also, you can just look up in the sky and see if you see a lot of hawks floating around. I'm confident turkey buzzards will eat them too, but everybody keeps saying turkey buzzards don't eat them. They only eat dead animals. Boy, you'd see a flock of turkey buzzards, and next thing you know, a chicken's missing, and those turkey buzzards aren't there anymore. So, I don't know. It seems like it to me, but I've never physically seen a hawk, or rather a turkey buzzard, take off the chicken. So, I'm not really sure. Either way, stay away from those large birds because they'll eat the crap out of your chickens. You will have none left. Like I said, we started out with a little over 300. We were down to maybe 50. They just ate the crap out of them. But unfortunately, though, we had to put them in a chicken yard, which just turned into a moonscape. It was thick, full of weeds and grass and stuff like that. They had it knocked down to nothing within a month. And, what are you going to do after that? You put mulch and stuff on it, but fact of the matter is it's not growing grass back because the chickens eat everything that comes near it. So, you could do the wagon wheel method, which is to say you have several, maybe 4 or 5 larger chicken yards that you can open a door for each day and let the chickens into that to kind of move them through that way. Unfortunately, you're still increasing your parasite load in the main chicken coop, that's one thing you want to try and mitigate is the big parasite load, because you'll get a bunch of more or less skin fleas for the chickens. I forget exactly what they're called, but they call them lice, but it's not really lice. It's something different that only affects birds. I assume it's because a certain flock of wild birds migrating through and they had those bugs on them, but it will literally kill your chickens. We lost a couple chickens that way. We were throwing 7 dust all over them, which now I wouldn't do that because that stuff is super poisonous, and have no doubt it was landing on our eggs, and we're ingesting some of it. But you can use diatomaceous earth instead, and that'll take care of some of your parasite problem. But you still have a heightened parasite load in that same area where they bed down every night. So if you can move that around a little bit to mitigate your parasite load, you'll be a lot better for it in the long run as far as the health of your birds. But after you decide that maybe it's okay to let your birds out, then go ahead, let them out and let them free range if that's what you're trying to do. But I'm still going to say your best bet is going to be a somewhat of a tractoring system, and make sure they're locked up tight at night. You want some venting so that you can still get air through, but you need to ensure that it's safe against predators, because everything loves chicken. We're not the only ones that prefer it. It's just such an easy meal for predators. So they'll put in an hour or two of work chewing through some wire or finding a hole in your chicken coop to eat some chicken dinner. Now, with that being said, your baby chicks. There's not a whole lot you have to do for them. Whenever they break out of the egg, they have 2 to 3 days of nutrition already with them. So that they're going to eat that yolk up. That's going to give them all the nutrition, water, everything they need for the first 2 to 3 days. However, if you're ordering them offline, like McMurray Hatchery, that's been one of my favorites. I don't know if I'm going to use them in the future, just because I sent an email to their customer service a couple times, because I ordered my chickens back in October, and they're supposed to arrive here any day now, actually, from 2-3 days ago until Tuesday. But they're supposed to arrive, and I contacted them in early January, late December, because I had a friend who wanted a couple laying chickens, and I just got meat birds, because I'm only allowed to keep 4 where I live. So I had a minimum order of 25, then I ended up sending you 26 because I sent you some special breed, which honestly I'll probably sell that because I don't really care about a special breed. I want eggs and meat. But since we had to get that many, I just got 21 meat birds and then 4 egg birds. So I contacted them late December, early January time frame. It was right around that 2-week drop there. I expected a little bit of delay, simply because of the fact they're going to be on holiday and whatnot. But they never got back to me. Sent them another email. They never got back to me. Well, geez, man, I just wanted to know we can't switch your order out like that this late, or yes, we can help you out, or something. Just some type of acknowledgement. So I'm a little pissed about that. So McMurray might not get my business again. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I can find a better farm that's raising chickens there. It sells them at a decent price as well. I mean, McMurray, it's really hard to beat their pricing. But I'm pretty sure for the customer service, I can find a better place. I heard Jack Spearcoat talking about eFowl, or now I have to look into that. Metzer Farm, that's who it was. So I'm probably going to look into them and see what their prices look like. But yeah, so baby chicks pretty easy. As soon as you get them out of the box, if you're buying them, I mean, really, even if you're just getting them from down the street, you want to make sure they have water and food right away and a warm place to bed down. Either way, there's not a whole lot to taking care of your baby chicks. They're pretty much self-sustaining, but just realize they're extremely fragile in really the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. After that, to start to get their real feathers. That's when you can tell to put them out in the chicken coop, though, outside, is when they start to get in real feathers. When they have enough, they can flap around a little bit. That's just kind of their insulation layer. Another thing I did, since I'm getting my birds kind of late in the year here, or early in the year rather, is I put some plastic. I just had some laying around. It's not perfect. It's not going to keep a perfect seal, but at the same time, I don't want that, because we'll get some 70-degree days like today and yesterday. And tomorrow, I think most this week actually, in the middle of January. It's actually toward the end of January rather, but this is when we get our big snowfall. So my big thing was keeping the snow off them and keeping the wind down. I don't want to completely end all wind, because, like I said, we're going to get those hot days where I need some breeze through. On the colder days, it's still a fairly decent wind block, and it's going to keep them dry, keep them out of the wind, and create somewhat of a greenhouse environment in there. That, and I have it over a garden bed that I haven't yet worked on yet. So it's just pretty much crap, dry soil, the way it was when I bought the house rather. And I put a whole bunch of old leaves in there that they can wrestle around in, and I'll keep throwing bedding in there until I'm able to tractor them around the summer, or spring rather, after the grass starts growing. But by doing that, though, I can really create an extremely fertile garden bed, and I won't need to haul in all the extra stuff then to fertilize it and get it going in the summer there. And that's just a great way to stack effects. It's kind of like having that family member who's kind of a pain, and you keep getting angry about them. Why are they living in my house? Well, one, because you invited them. I highly doubt they invited themselves. You can always say no, but it's all about finding the place for that thing. So squirrels, I can't stand the little bastards because they're always digging around my trash. but they're really effective. Put some apple cores out there, they're going to eat a lot of the seeds, they're going to eat a lot of the apple, but good chance they'll bury some of those seeds, and then you'll get some apples poking up. Granted, they're going to be crab apples, so probably going to be spitters. But, same thing with chickens. Same thing with that relative. You just have to find the niche that they fit into and aren't such a huge pain in. Where can they be put to use instead of being a pain? So, it's all about finding that right spot. And, just keep chicken safe the first 2 weeks, and then make sure they're locked up tight at night, and at least predator mitigated throughout the day. Typically, you're not going to have a big problem in the middle of the daylight. Predators just don't want to be out in the open space. If you're in the forest or near the edge of a forest, brush or anything like that, then you're going to have a higher risk because they have a hiding spot. They don't want to be away from that hiding spot for too long. Especially weasels or foxes. Hawks will swoop down and take them out real quick. So there's one upside to having a lot of hawks and such around you, and that is the fact that excuse me, the fact that your predators don't want to come out in the middle of nowhere because the hawks come down and get them. So they're always going to stay near brush and whatnot. That's all I had on the chickens. Sorry, it was a long night there. My daughter was up with a fever. She's only 12 months old now, and I'll be damned if these kids don't break every stinking thermometer we get. Holy crap. Want to send me out over the deep end. Spend $35, $40 on one of those quality temporal thermometers, ones you swipe across the forehead. Because you get consistent readings with them. 2, they take like half a second. So even if the kids are asleep, you can still get their temperature. And 3, well, I know it's going to work every time. So we got this other piece of junk thermometer. We've got like 3 of them. They're all digital. Jesus, try working those things. It takes like 5 minutes to figure out how the stinking thing works. We do have one that's pretty easy, though. You just hit the button once, push it again behind the kid's ear, and you get a reading. Unfortunately, the reading is so stinking inconsistent. Holy crap, we're getting it from 99.4 all the way up to 104.6. Well, I think my child's about dead if the 104 is correct. Fortunately, that wasn't right based on the other extremely complicated digital thermometer. Either way, if these kids touch my stinking thermometers again, I'm going to murder them. Holy crap. No, I'm not serious, but man, does it just drive me up a frickin' wall. I have one good thermometer, and they find it and think it's a toy until it doesn't work. And then they wonder why I'm mad at them. Holy crap. That's all I had for this segment, though. Maybe you can feel my pain on that one. Keeping the kids out of stuff. Yeah. On to the next segment. Hey guys, just wanted to throw out a mention there real quick about Geoff Lawton's upcoming PDC. That stands for Permaculture Design Course. I'm debating on whether or not to take it here. Not that I don't think it would be of great value, but they're typically pretty expensive. So, something you want to contemplate before jumping into it. He's starting that off on February 7th. I think he's starting the registration, not the actual course, but it's going to be self-paced. I'm sure it's going to be a really good course. And he has a couple bonuses added on there as well, like the earthworks portion he's adding on, and he's also going to add on a portion regarding kind of checking out your land and understanding how it's laid out. So those look really cool. If you're not familiar with Geoff Lawton, which, boy, I kind of find that hard to believe. That guy seems so famous, but maybe just in the bubble of influence in which I do most of my researching. Either way, he's actually been across the world. He's one of the initial people to work with Bill Mollison, who is more or less the developer of permaculture, at least the one who, I mean, it's hard to say anybody's developed any of this stuff because various portions of the tactics have been utilized across the world for, well, as long as time the humans have been on this planet. But, and other things are just observations that have just happened regardless of human input or not. But he's the one to put a name to it, and he put it all down in a book. His book is very large and somewhat expensive, around $100. So honestly, I just haven't been able to scrape together the change to buy that one. Also, just because I have so many other books to read, I didn't really see the utility in purchasing a rather expensive book like that and actually being able to read it. So it's on my list, but that's probably going to be one of those things I buy right about the time I'm looking for land, so I can look at land and kind of work my way through the book as to what I can do with it to get some better ideas there. Either way, I would encourage you to check out Geoff Lawton's PDC. If not, check out some of his videos. He's got so many videos up on his website for free, geofflawton.com. That's Geoff, Geoff, Lawton, Lawton.com, geofflawton.com. And all you have to do is put in your email address. He used to have a less sensical, I guess you would call it, login where you had to put in your name, your email address, and a password, but you had to do it every time. So they finally took it down to just put in an email address, which makes people a little less concerned, because it does look kind of like one of those network marketing sites, but I promise you it's not. It's 100% legit. Geoff hasn't given my email address out to anybody that I can tell. Hasn't sent me a whole bunch of spam or anything. Honestly, the only time I get anything from him, and that's not even all the time, is whenever he's having a PDC. I heard about the PDC through Permies, and I think Jack Spierko may have mentioned it as well. I didn't get an opportunity to listen to his show there, so I saw you had him on, and I think I heard something about it, but I don't quite recollect. Either way, great opportunity, and you do get a certificate from it. So that's one of those things. If you want to call yourself a permaculturist, you have to have a certificate from a permaculture design course. So there's definitely value to that, and the fact that it's at your own pace, I can't overstate the excellence of that. It's so stinking hard to pull 1 or 2 weeks away from work and the family and all that stuff and still pay for it and still do the driving or flying to wherever it happens to be. Something like this is just an incredible opportunity. It seems like he's been doing maybe one a year now, so hopefully I can get in on one next year. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe another PDC will pop up as well. I'm not sure. I'd really love to do one by Geoff Lawton, because I just think there's so much you would learn. But I mean, there are also just probably too many permaculturists out there that I would love to learn from, that it's not reasonable for me to actually go to all their PDCs. But maybe over the years I'll be able to. Yeah, so just want to make sure you were aware of that and aware of what a PDC was. What it actually goes through is more or less a portion of a permaculture design process. So you're not going to hit every single tick on the sheet there just because every piece of land doesn't require that, or some places you can't build waterways, some places you can't grow certain types of crops, some places maybe it's illegal to use berms or gabion baskets, or you just don't need to do some of those things in every location. So you're only going to go through the portions that chunk of land needs that is hosting the Permaculture Design Course. However, still an excellent opportunity to learn, especially if it's in your area. That's the biggest key for me, is if you're going to a Permaculture Design Course in your region, chances are you're going to see, if not everything, just about everything you need to know to be a successful permaculturist in your region. So if you're East Coast, go to one on the East Coast. I mean, if you can centralize it more to your state, that'd be great. Your county would be incredible, because then you're going to hit exactly what biome you're in, and all the smaller things that you'd never really thought of, like maybe water management. If you're back east, there's just so much water that you can end up waterlogging your plants. So just something you want to contemplate there, but you actually get the practice installing the system, planning the system, identifying problems like that with the Permaculture Design Course. So the value you gain from that is tremendous. That's all I wanted to cover with this segment.
With that, that's all I've got today for this episode. Please make sure you keep on your own path to a more natural lifestyle. Have a great day.